Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creativity Worth Expressing. I'm your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and today we have a special guest, author AP Mobley. AP Mobley, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing awesome. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm actually having my third mug of coffee. For those who are only listening to the audio, I have my pug mug because I love pugs and I love mugs. I love coffee. So I'm doing great. And it's also great to have you on the podcast. So I'm extra excited, extra happy.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Now, before we get started, can you share what is your form of creativity with the audience?
I am a writer for sure. I love to tell stories, especially stories that have to do with mythology. I'm just obsessed with mythology.
Can you share with us some of the works that you have already published?
So right now, the only thing that I have published is it's War on the Gods, my War on the Gods series. And that's kind of it's inspired by Greek mythology, and it takes place in a dystopian future where the gods force us to worship them because they're mad that we don't really take them very seriously anymore. Um, but I'm working on many projects right now. So hopefully the list will be a lot longer.
Is this like a child-friendly mythology, or is this like
No, it's dark. It's YA, um, but it is steering toward, I would say, the older YA just because of there's like a lot of death. There's quite a bit of gore. There's some darker topics for sure. So definitely not for. I would recommend it to at least like 14-year-olds. Maybe if you're like a mature 12-year-old. Yeah.
okay? Because you also have a podcast. The name of it is, can you remind me?
Myths and folk tales and fairy tales.
And in preparation for our conversation, I listened to a bit of it. I haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't listened to all of your episodes, but I was really engaged on that first and second episode on the mythology and of Heracles, I believe his name is
Heracles. Yep.
Heracles, and I'm thinking about like Disney,
Yes.
Hercules, and so I'm imagining, oh, like I haven't read AP's work yet, but maybe her work is gonna be kind of like Disney. So right off the bat, you've cleared the myth, so that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Hercules, I love that movie so much. I love the Disney Hercules. I feel like it's a masterpiece. I know a lot of people who are into mythology, they don't like it because it's inaccurate, but I don't think there's really anything wrong with like inaccurate retellings. Like it's not supposed to be accurate. If it were accurate, it would not be appropriate for children. So,
Yes.
yeah.
But do you think like for like a Disney movie when it's based off of like a myth so well known, like Greek mythology, do you think they did a good job of kind of bending it here and there to fit the audience of children?
I do. And I might be biased because like one of my earliest memories is watching that movie and loving it. Um, but I really do think they did a good job with that. There are lots of little hints to the original story, like peppered throughout. And there's also just hints to like other myths as well. Like they clearly knew the mythology, they just chose to take it in another direction.
What sparked your love for creativity in the first place?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I might ramble a little bit here.
Go ahead,
Um,
I love it.
so when I was very little, I don't remember exactly how little, but I just loved Disney movies. Sorry, we're back on Disney. And I really wanted to be a Disney animator when I was little. Like I told all my friends at school that I was going to be a Disney animator, and so I would watch, I don't know if you've ever seen the Aladdin, like the behind the scenes Aladdin thing. It's like an hour-long documentary about how they made the movie. I think I watched that like every day after school. And I was just like, I cannot wait. I want to do this. I want to tell a story I want it to be, amazing, and I want people to love it as much as I am loving these movies. So as I got older, I kind of realized that I didn't want to be an animator. They shut down their 2D animation studios, and that was sad. So I I kind of steered more just into like novel writing at that point. I mean, I wasn't writing novels yet, but I was like, well, what's another way that I could, tell stories? And I loved to read. So, yeah, I kind of got into writing then. I started writing like little fan fictions. I would write Winx Club fan fiction. I don't know if you've ever heard of Winx Club,
No.
but oh,
No.
it's a really cute like Italian anime type show. It's like a magical girl show. It's like Harry Potter meets Sailor Moon, but they're
Oh,
fairies.
okay.
Yeah. So I wrote that, and then I wrote a little bit of Harry Potter fan fiction because who hasn't if you were a reader at that time. Um, and then I started writing kind of my own short stories. I wrote one about a vampire who eats his girlfriend because I was kind of sick of Twilight at the time. I liked Twilight, but I was just like, I want to see a vampire like eat someone. So I wrote a short story about a vampire eating his girlfriend. And then I wrote another story about a haunted music box. And that was supposed to, I was going to enter that into a contest, a writing contest in high school, but then it ended up being way too long. So I just never entered it. It's just on my computer. Um, and then I graduated high school, and a lot of people, said that authors didn't really make money, that you'd have to have another thing that you were doing to make money and be able to live. So I kind of gave up on that for a little while. Like I was still thinking about my stories in the back of my head, and I would still write here and there, but I wasn't really taking it very seriously because I was trying to, find another career path. But I've never really found anything that I would rather do. So I'm just focusing on that pretty much right now. And that's it.
Oh, when was it that you started writing your own fiction?
um I got an idea in my head for War on the Gods when I was 11 years old. Um, I was reading this series. It's out of print now, sadly. It's called Avatars by Toy T. Sutherland. And I already really loved mythology at that point, and it was a mythology series. And I didn't realize that you could write fiction like surrounded by mythology. And that just got the gears in my head turning. It gave me so many ideas. And yeah, that I came up with that idea, but I didn't write it for a really long time. I didn't start writing War on the Gods until I was like 20. Yeah, 20. The first book came out when I was 22, just mainly because I didn't really feel like I was ready. I didn't feel like I was ready to tackle like a full novel. Um, so I was mostly writing just like little short stories in high school. Usually, there was one, the vampire one was an assignment for my ninth grade English class. And then the haunted music box one was when I was a junior in high school. So I guess high school, that's probably more when I started writing more of my own things. But um, yeah, I'm trying to think. I definitely didn't write as much fan fiction anymore at that point. I That was definitely like a maybe 10 to 13.
Okay. What is your writing style? Do you take time for like world building? Are you more like of a narrative approach or conversational? How is it?
Well, with that one, I feel like I wasn't as, not that I'm like amazing now, but I definitely don't feel like I was as skilled as I am now. So it was pretty fast paced. There was quite a bit of world building, but like not as much as I would prefer to do now in my writing. Um, so I would say it's pretty fast paced. It's pretty plot driven. Like I did put my all into the characters, but it was definitely quite plot driven. So,
Are there any like stories from the ancient Greek mythology that maybe you kind of really you're like, oh, I got to write about this. Is there anything that like stood out to you? And if so, what was it?
oh, so many of them, but the first probably being Medusa. I don't know if you see my little Medusa on my desk,
Yes.
but she I just love Medusa so much. I love like every version of her story that I've ever come across. My the version I put in War on the Gods was really depressing. So I'm going to maybe try to do her less sturdy in the future. But um yeah, Medusa for sure. I knew that I had to include her in that first book because I just think she's so cool. I love her whole story. I don't know if you ever saw the Hercules TV show, but I love the episode where he goes on a date with Medusa. I think it's so cute.
I wanted to go with your writing style because you have more books coming up. You seem to be very busy. When you wrote the first one, dang, War on the Gods, correct? War on the Gods.
Yes.
As you continue as a writer, do you still like what you wrote in that book? Will those stories will it affect other books, or is each book like a standalone kind of thing? Like what I'm trying to get to is like, does the mythology like continue? Is it canon for you? Like how does that work?
So with War on the Gods, those four books, they're their own story, but I do have more series planned in that world. But instead of YA, I'm moving more into adult. So it will still be like canon, but I think it will just maybe feel like more adult in that other series. And then there are other worlds that I'm writing in for sure. I'm working on a series called Children of the Death Gods, and that one has nothing to do with War on the Gods. It's in a completely different universe. It's like a nuclear post-apocalypse type deal. It's kind of weird. Um, but yeah, there will be more in that series, and the mythology will continue, and yeah, it will be like canon in my universe.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, like
Yeah,
in your universe,
yeah.
because I know it might be confusing because it's not canon, but I
Right.
mean, okay, so good. I'm glad you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes.
Okay, so you have different universes. You said that you have like the kind of the mythology, and then you have like an apocalyptic, like a is it like a cyberpunk kind of like a steampunk or?
So that one it's still mythology, it's still dark fantasy. But the mythology is tied in with the well, I mean it was in War on the Gods too, but it's way I feel like it's way more prevalent. The post-apocalyptic uh parts of it are way more prevalent in that series, but it's still dark fantasy. That's kind of why I say it's weird, because it feels kind of like a genre bender a little bit.
Well, that's got to be a lot of fun. I mean, it takes a lot of creativity to do what you're doing.
Thank you. It was fun.
And do you introduce new characters to the mythology, or is it all just the original characters with just new stories?
Um, in War on the Gods, I tried to stick as closely as I could to at least like one version of the mythology because there are, there's different versions of Medusa. There's different versions of all of the stories. So I tried to pick at least one that was, considered canon to the mythology, and then I would write about it. But definitely in the future, I would love to like create my own characters, and they're just kind of existing in the mythology as well.
Do you ever get this when you're writing, like where you have an idea and then you didn't write it down in time and then it escapes you? Have you ever experienced that?
All the time, even when I'm not writing.
So, as a writer, which is perfect, as a writer, how do you overcome moments where maybe you have writer's block? How do you overcome those challenges?
I listen to music for
Oh,
sure. Yeah.
like what kind of music?
Like heavy metal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was expecting Disney, but
Yeah. Well, Disney music, I mean, Disney music is amazing, but yeah, I definitely like metal, rock, yeah, all that
okay.
stuff.
What when you're writing, and let's say you're going through a bit of a writer's block, what would be the top three songs on your playlist?
Anything by like In This Moment, um, Evanescence, Ice Nine Kills, Fame on Fire, Nothing More. I listen to so much stuff. My Spotify's a mess. um, oh, what's another really good one? I guess some of these aren't like really heavy, but I really like Motionless in White recently. They're really good.
So we see that you have a love for writing, you have a love for fan fiction, you have a love for music. So when you're writing your books, I mean, you love what you do, but where do you find inspiration to write your plots and your stories and your dialogues?
Mm, so for like my human characters who don't come from the mythology at all, they just exist from my own head. I definitely take pieces of myself and put them in each of them. They're not like exact copies of me, but I definitely pick like a piece of myself and then I kind of work on from there. So, for example, I have this character named Gus, and he's in my Children of the Death God series that is upcoming. And I started with the idea that he would love mythology and like folklore and all that stuff. And I took that from me. And then from there, he just kind of built himself. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I get inspiration for those characters. As far as the like fantastical elements, though, I would say so far I've definitely been 100% inspired by like mythology and folklore and other authors who write in this genre. Especially, I don't know if you've ever read anything by Brahm, but he is just incredible. He is my favorite author for sure.
Is
He wrote Lost Gods. He wrote The Child Thief, Krampus the Yule
Mm,
Lord, Evil and Me, Slewfoot. I know that one was like a bestseller, so maybe that one would be the one that most people
mm.
recognize. Um, and then he also wrote The Plucker and The Devil's Rose, which I think those are out of print now. But he usually has an element, like in Krampus, obviously it was based on the legend of Krampus. In Lost Gods, he blends like Egyptian mythology and Greek mythology, and he does reference many other mythologies, but I noticed those two the most. I just did a reread of that one. um, and then in like The Child Thief, that one was sort of a Peter Pan retelling. It was quite dark though. Um, and it was also inspired by Welsh mythology. So definitely like, you know, other authors and then the myths themselves inspire me in that regard.
Wow, there is a lot of love that I hear for mythology in all that you do. Is there a mythology outside of Greek that appeals to you very much?
Oh, that is such a hard question. I love them all so much, but if I had to like pick one outside of Greek mythology, because that was definitely my first love. If I had to pick one, oh, probably Irish mythology. Irish mythology is so fascinating. And my grandpa, he died last year. He uh, was like super Irish, like not 100% Irish, but he had a lot of Irish heritage. And he just loved Ireland so much. I mean, he talked about Ireland every single day. So I think he kind of got it in my head that Ireland was just the best thing. And definitely Irish mythology is like, it's probably going to take over Greek mythology as the years go by and I learn more about it.
No, here's a question that I have. Like, what is the difference? How do you distinguish the difference between mythology and folklore?
So, usually when I'm thinking about mythology, I'm thinking about a story that like a story of how the world came to be or like why the seasons change or how people were created. And then when I'm thinking of folklore, yeah, folklore and mythology are, I feel, at least I feel, in my like unprofessional opinion, I feel like they're extremely connected. But I feel like folklore is like a branch off from mythology. And
Hmm.
folklore, like I know there's this folk tale in India, like Hindu mythology about how Kali, the goddess Kali, came to be. And I know that it's regarded not necessarily as like the mythology, but it's regarded as a folk tale, just because it kind of differs from the other ways that the writings say she came to be. Um, and then, like with fairies, they come from tons of different mythologies, and I would put them more in like the folklore type of a category. But I mean, I'm no expert.
Yeah.
I love mythology. I love folklore, but I'm not 100%. I'm not an expert. So,
But I just find it so fascinating that even pre-internet times, pre-television, radio, that all of these countries have their own like legends and tales, and like you were mentioning with India, and then you hear about whether it's elves or leprechauns, or I know like in Spanish you have like La Llorona, and there's all these like tales, but every country culture seems to have their thing. Now with Irish culture, folklore, I've always found it interesting, the banshee. I don't know, like,
yes.
did your grandfather ever tell you any stories about the banshee?
Uh no, he didn't usually talk about um anything more than like leprechauns. He was really into talking about like leprechauns. But the banshee also really interests me. So I'm with you there.
Would you say that your grandfather had a strong influence on your creative journey to becoming an author?
um I think like all my family did for sure. I think all my grandparents and my parents, they were always super encouraging of it. They always wanted to see me succeed. I remember when my first book came out, the first book in the War on the Gods series, they threw a party for me. It was they got me like a cake and they invited a bunch of people over and they were like, "Look, she wrote a book." So, I think definitely all of them did for sure.
Now, are there any authors out there who you found to be inspirational for you in your creative journey?
Absolutely. I really loved that series that I told you about by Toy T. Sutherland. There was a book that I read in the fifth grade that my sixth grade teacher gave me. It's called The More Child. I can't remember who it's by, but that one was about changelings. And
Hmm.
that was amazing. And then, oh my goodness, my very favorite children's book series is by Lloyd Alexander. It's the Chronicles of Prydain series. I don't know if you've ever seen Disney's The Black Cauldron, but that movie was like loosely based off of the entire book series. They kind of tried to cram a bunch of different elements from all of the books into that one movie. Um, Love, but Lloyd Alexander, that's like based on Welsh mythology, of course. I really, when I was like 15, 16, 17, really loved the Rick Riordan books, like Percy Jackson, the Kane Chronicles. Those definitely were so much fun. And then later, as I got older, definitely really liked Neil Gaiman before the stuff about him came out. I don't know if you've heard about that, but I had to like hide all of his books away. I can't look at them anymore.
Yeah.
And then Brahm. I love Brahm so much.
You mentioned just a little while ago the word changelings. Is that correct?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for those in the audience who are thinking, what the hell is a changeling? Can you kind of describe what a changeling is?
Yes. So a changeling is a it can be either in the fairy world or in the human world, but basically the fairies switch out a human baby with one of their own. So like I'm trying to give examples. They use this a lot to explain people who are a little bit different. Like if their kid maybe had a disability or wasn't maybe quite as productive as their other children,
Hmm.
they would be like, oh, maybe it's replaced by a changeling. Uh, but yeah, it's just when you get switched out, and it doesn't have to be a baby. It can also be an adult that gets switched out with a fairy. And it's said that the fairies do this because they think that maybe the child is very beautiful. So, like children with very beautiful golden hair and blue eyes, they might be more at risk for being taken. Or sometimes, you know, maybe the parents made the fairies mad, and so they switched out the human child with one of their own. And then usually the changeling is like kind of elderly, um, look in appearance. They would describe it as being like old and kind of gross looking, and they would be kind of naughty. So the stories really vary though. I mean, because there's stories about changelings from like all of the Celtic nations,
Yeah.
as far as I know. So there's like Welsh ones, there's Irish ones, there's Scottish ones. So it was, I feel like it was pretty prevalent in that culture.
Yeah. Now I wanted to get back to your books. What is it that you are working on at the moment?
At the moment, I am working on the first book in that Children of the Death God series. It's called The Bone Fairy, and it was actually inspired by changelings. So that's kind of funny that we were just talking about that. Um, so yeah, it's got like changelings, and then there's a lot of different mythology from the different Celtic nations. Primarily right now Welsh though. There's a At the very beginning I have like a little introduction about the Cauldron of Rebirth, which is what the Lloyd Alexander books, well, one of them, The Black Cauldron, was inspired by. It's part of the second branch of the Mabinogion. So yeah, that one was inspired by like changelings, the apocalypse, and the second branch of the Mabinogion.
So when you say apocalypse, is that like a Christian version of apocalypse or something else?
So in the story, there was a nuclear war that happened, and it's kind of the the land of humankind is taking place in that nuclear world, and or in that fallout type world. And it's so I don't know if you know about like how it's said that there's a veil between our world and the land of fairy. But the idea was that the nuclear war actually ripped open that veil and is leaking into the fairy world, and it's starting to harm the fairies. So that's that was kind of the idea of the apocalypse. That's how I wanted to tie it in this time with the mythology.
Oh, it sounds pretty fascinating.
Thank you.
So you're busy with your book. Is there like a date for release?
um, I wanted to come out with it in July, but I've been dealing with some pretty debilitating health problems. I've been having a lot of like brain fog and just fatigue and general being unwell. So I moved it to September 9th just for now. If I can get it out by July, that would be fantastic. But if not, I'm not going to be mean to myself just because it's been really hard with everything going on.
So, what would you say have been, I guess, the biggest challenges as a writer that you have encountered, and how have you overcome them?
Oh, the biggest challenges. Hmm, that's a really good question. Let's see. Mm, Probably like fear. Probably the fear of, not knowing how people are going to react to your story. Um, and, there's always going to be like negative feedback. And so it's fear of that. And sometimes, when you're at the keyboard and you're writing and, maybe some of the negative stuff gets stuck in your head, that just kind of causes the block. Um, I would say, though, to get through that, just write the story that you want to read. Like, if you like it, if you really want to read this story, then chances are at least one other person is going to want to read it too. So I just try to write, what is something that I would enjoy? I think about that. And then, if some people don't like it, that's totally fine. Like, there are people who don't like Fourth Wing, and that is absolutely huge right now. And it has so many fans. So, the world is just full of so many readers. And if you like it, there's bound to be someone out there that's going to enjoy it too.
Do you go like deep enough to like also have your own language, or do you ever apply like um other languages in your books?
I have not done that yet. I do have in War on the Gods, I did have some Greek words like poli for city, and like the Kade- I think it's pronounced Kadea. I am probably mispronouncing so many words right now, but and like astronomia. I don't know. There were some Greek words in there, but never to the point where it's like a full language. I would love to do that, to be like on Tolkien level. That would be cool, but I don't know if I'll ever get there. I definitely would want to give, like, if I was using another language, I would really want to give it justice,
Mm.
cuz I don't I just hear sometimes about people like misusing words from other languages, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want that to be me." So
Yeah, yeah, because the readers many times they're either they're experts or they're gonna do their research, and if you make a mistake, oh, they're gonna weed it out quick.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So now I wanted to, because we've already discussed your creative journey from your beginnings, yeah, I guess your origin story. Also, we've discussed your books. Now I wanted to share with the audience a reminder that AP Mobley also has a podcast that's available on podcast platforms and on YouTube, which I'm definitely going to be subscribing to. Can you share with us what is the different what is it like preparing for each podcast episode?
So, when I'm preparing for an episode, I usually have like a general idea of what I'm going to be talking about, but like I said, I'm not a 100% expert. So, I usually spend like 3 or 4 days researching and writing down key points. So, I'll like find the different versions of the stories, I'll write down their key points, I'll decide, maybe which ones I want to do. Like right now, I'm doing creation and underworld myths on there, and the first one was Mesopotamian mythology. And there are like, I don't remember exactly how many, but there is more than one creation myth. So I kind of had to decide, which one. And then definitely just making sure that all the information is accurate, double, triple, quadruple checking. I have a lot of books on all these world mythologies, but I also go to like the Oxford website. And there are a couple of other college websites that have translations of like English translations of the original text. And I'll read those and write things down about them. And then if I, quote the text, I'll link that in the description. But it's a lot of that. And then, just writing down the key points and then recording. I think most of the work really is in just the research part.
Mm.
because I take a quite a long time to do that. I kind of bit off more than I think I can chew.
But the cool thing is that when I'm listening to your podcast, it's so very informative. It's like it's getting an education for me as a listener. So it's very well done. It's very well planned out, and the way you deliver it, very nice. Did you ever experience getting nervous when you first pressed the record button?
Yes, every time I go to record, I'm pretty nervous. I was really nervous about this today too. um, I'm just an awkward person. I mean, I've been awkward since childhood. Um, and I think I'm just going to be awkward for the rest of my life. So yeah, every time I press record, I'm a little nervous, and people can probably maybe hear it a little bit in my voice because I know it shakes sometimes, and sometimes I get off track and I start rambling about other things. But yeah, I get nervous every time. But I just really wanted to do it. I really wanted to talk about mythology, so I just kind of forced myself through it.
No, I love it. And the name of it again, so that the people in the audience can check it out.
Myths and folk tales and fairy tales.
Cool. So those who are in the audience, go check out myths and folk tales and fairy tales. Is that correct? Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay, so go check
Yep.
out, yeah, go check out that podcast. And before we wrap things up, I have just a few more questions. My next question for you is, how do you see your creativity evolving in the future?
I think definitely getting more descriptive. When I read back um, to my old works, I don't feel like I was as descriptive as I could have been. So I definitely have been working on that. In other elements of creativity, I love to draw. I have drawings in my books that I have done, but I want to get better at that. I want to be, a better artist. I wanted to be a Disney animator, so I love
Yes.
to draw. Um, I want to continue my podcast. I want to keep talking about this stuff and learning because I mean, I'm still learning. Like, I've been reading about this stuff since I was a kid, but there is so much to it that I feel like there's always something to learn. Um, yeah, I want to draw, I want to write, I want to talk about mythology. I
Cool.
think that's what the future looks like.
Cool. So I'll be watching out for that because I mean there's just so much uh there is only going forward, and I see you're really going forward, and you have your work, you have your newsletter, your website. But my next question for you is, are there any upcoming authors that you would suggest we keep an eye out for?
Ooh, absolutely. There's one author, and I'm biased because I'm his editor. But his name is D.R. Mills, and he is a horror author. Um, his first series, Monsters, is like a YA. It's kind of like Supernatural meets Stranger Things type of a deal. But his most recent book, oh my goodness, it's called Riley Doesn't Want to Fight Evil. It's not like up for pre-order or anything yet, but I finished the edits like a few months ago, and I freaking love that book. Like, you guys, when it does come out, I need everybody to check it out because it's a horror comedy, which you would think that those two things maybe wouldn't go well together, but I mean there are like horror comedies out there, but when he told me, he was like, "Yeah, I'm moving into horror comedy." I was like, "Okay. All right. All right." And then I read it and I was just like, "Oh my god." So definitely like keep a watch out for him. Other authors that I know that are really great. There's Lauren Jade Case. She wrote. There was this one book called Starlight, and that was kind of like a fairy tale mythology mashup. And then she has a spy series, and it kind of reminds me of Kingsman. I don't know if
Mm.
you have ever seen Kingsman, but it gives me that kind of vibe of like Kingsman mixed with X-Men because they have powers and they're kind of like mutants. So yeah, Lauren Jade Case is another one. So D.R. Mills and then Lauren Jade Case. They are both awesome.
Why is creativity important for you?
It's really important for me because I think it keeps me sane. I was kind of talking about like health issues and stuff before. I've been dealing with depression and anxiety since I was 12. And this is an outlet. Like writing, putting myself into the characters and escaping to other places and learning about, the stories from around the world. It just kind of keeps me from I that's maybe not the best way to put it. It gives me a lot of purpose. So, sometimes, when you're in the deep depths of depression, it can be hard sometimes to feel like you have purpose, but this and there are people in my life obviously that give me purpose, but this is definitely one thing that ever since I was a child, it's given me a lot of purpose and it helps me get through those hard days.
Well, thank you so much, AP Mobley, for sharing your creative journey, your works, for sharing your love for creativity. And I think it's inspirational to hear people like you come on the show and just express themselves. So, big thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And to those in the audience who are probably thinking, where can I find more information about AP Mobley? Where can they go?
Well, I do have my website, and that has my blog on it as well, where I publish stuff about myths and folk tales and whatnot. But that's apmobley.com. And then I'm on most social media platforms. I think uh, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok. Yeah, Lemonade. I'm like
Yes.
everywhere.
So again, thank you for coming on the show and for the audience. If you can kindly give a like to this episode, subscribe, please share so that other people can also encounter the amazing stories of AP Mobley. And also, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to AP's YouTube channel as well. The name of the YouTube channel is.
I think it's just AP Mobley. That's so bad that I don't even know my own channel name. The podcast on there, I know the podcast is called Myths and Folktales and Fairy Tales, and it's either just AP Mobley or author AP Mobley. I
Yeah.
made that channel a long time ago. Sorry about that.
No, so the audience, please. I mean, subscriptions. I mean, it might not seem like much, but it really helps us YouTubers or creators. It really helps us to get out there and to be found by other people because I think that's a part of creativity is that you can share it. So please subscribe and share. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you AP Mobley for being an awesome person.
Thank you so much for having me.